What happened after Goddess of Lovers died? Sumeru's desert history is a drama-filled mess, especially after Goddess of Flowers died and Ahriman fell. Anything that even slightly touches royalty will have more than enough drama, especially when it's tied with the India-related region. We can divide the desert history into 5 parts. First is the original world, second, King Deshret's solo role, third, Ahriman with 3 god kings, fourth, post Goddess of Flowers' death, and finally, fifth, post King Deshret's death. In my last video, I talked about eras from 1st to 4th from the perspective of the 3 god kings. But what about the mortals? After Ahriman fell, taking advantage of the Scarlet King's depression, the existing vassal kings took hold of that power vacuum and came into power for about a century. I can't say how many, but there were a big emphasis on the number 99. Pay some attention. This will be important for the 3.4 World Quest that focuses on Gurabad. You can find bits and pieces of info about vassal states, but unlike the story of Gurabad from the book of Tale of Shiruyeh and Shirin, others found on primal obelisks are very obscure. Either way, they don't matter as much as they were absorbed into the most prominent state, Gurabad. It was ruled by a guy called Omaz Shah. Omaz was like some kind of big shot to have 300 children and have the ancestor genie Lilufa as one of his wives. Ignore the 300 heirs for now. I know it's ridiculous. Trust me, all 300 are barely relevant. Also, keep this in the back of your head. The names used in this book could be substitutes for these characters' real names. The quest name is The Dirge of Bilquis, which means the mournful song of Bilquis. And Bilquis was the daughter of a jinn and the wife of King Suleiman, just like the character I'm going to talk about next. Omazd and Lilufa had a daughter, and she was called Shirin. Around the same time she was born, her mother spoke of 3 prophecies and 3 admonitions, which are Shirin would fall in love with a great hero, and the progeny of their union would surpass their father. Many of Shirin's relatives would enjoy a sweet death. Shirin alone would be given possession of her father's kingdom. And the 3 admonitions are: her joy would bring tears to her father's eyes. They should no longer feast at the same table as their daughter after she was wed. Their daughter's heir would be an ill omen upon the king's land. So, in classic trying to avoid the prophecy will make the prophecy come true fashion, one by one, each of them fell into place. Then come the next main character of this story. Kisra was an orphan taken in by a magical bird. You know how child story goes? He fell into the abyss, trained, became good at killing, got scouted out by Husnella and became a harbinger. Yeah, Kisra's story is kinda similar to that. Since he was raised in the wild, he was good at battle, so King Omaz took him in, while giving him the name Kisra Parvez. Under Omaz's banner, he conquered 99 other vassal kingdoms. Those 99 kingdoms became like vassal states of vassal state, and now Kisra was dubbed as a hero. He was then given Shirin's hand in marriage. She loved the guy at first, but as time went on, it was a loveless union. I wonder if this is a common trait with Goddess of Lovers' descendants. Also, around this time, Shirin gave birth to Kisra's son, fulfilling half of the first prophecy. This was when Kisra wanted the throne, so he mixed scorpion poison with honey and let all the 300 heirs plus the king eat it at a banquet. Shirin didn't attend as it was one of the admonitions. That night, Omaz and all 300 of his kin died a sweet death. Remember the second prophecy? So as the only person closer to the throne, Kisra became king, adopting the title of Kisra Parvez Ravan. Since Kisra was a power-hungry bastard now, he was afraid of his son Shiruyeh surpassing him. So when Shiruyeh stepped into adulthood, he was banished from Gurabad with a brass mask to cover his face. This gave Shirin another reason to hate the guy. Then what she did is, she disguised herself as a divine envoy of the moon gods and told a false prophecy to Shiruyeh, who took refuge in this same moon goddess temple. She said his father is a tyrant and you will be a better king, so you should kill him and become king. But he was not that convinced. Then, by some coincidence, Shirin's veil got blown away. Seeing his mother's face, he got scared and ran away. No one knows what happened in between, but after some time, he stabbed Kisra while asleep, making himself the king now, completely fulfilling the first prophecy. But since he killed his own father, booted with the spreading forbidden knowledge corruption that gives crazed whispers, he was haunted by nightmares and was short lived. He didn't die of corruption, but he fell down a pit and died while going on a frenzied walk. Fell into what is described as a deep black chasm in the earth. Not sure if this is the chasm or some random crack in the ground. As there was no other heirs to the throne, Shirin became the queen, fulfilling the third prophecy. Sometime later, it says a plague came from that chasm and killed half the population of Gurabad, which led to its downfall. People call it Shiruyeh's plague, because it started from where Shiruyeh fell, but it's most likely Elazar. This was also when King Deshret snapped out of his depression, remembering he was the god of this land. So he asked Rukadevata to help temper the corruption using the 7 towers infused with the power of life and reunited the Great Red Sand region. So after about a century, vassal state era came to an end. People say King Deshret sealed Shirin in a bottle with all the other jinn, but some also say since she is a half jinn and immortal, she wanders the sand looking for her lost son to this day. Then, about 200 years later, when King Deshret finally built his maze, he unleashed the forbidden knowledge to finally end it all. This caused the entirety of King Deshret's capital to be wiped out with all the remains of forbidden knowledge. Keep in mind, for an immortal like King Deshret, 100 years is like nothing, so 100 years of depression is relatively tiny. Since timelines are still a bit messy, you could argue that forbidden knowledge eruption from King Deshret's death was also the same thing as Shiruyeh's plague, and the pit he fell into is the trench below Khajnesut when it was invisible. But people of Gurabad misunderstood what actually happened and pinned the blame on Shiruyeh. But because it's called a plague, I'll stick to the Elazar theory. After some time, when the dust settled, after the previous era got buried, new civilizations started with people settling down around the 7 towers created to temper the forbidden knowledge. The actual use of the towers were lost, so people called them towers of betrayal, thinking they were built as reminders for humans to not to be like vassal kings of the past era who betrayed King Deshret, and not that the towers were made to temper their idiot god's mistake. Now you get where Ain al-Ahmar got their delusions, right? This marks the start of the new era of city-states built around towers of betrayal. This era is way too complicated to cram together with this Gurabad story, so I will pause here and continue the drama of Tulaytullah in a future video. And that was the story of Sumeru's Great Red Sands 4th era that will be featured in the upcoming World Quest, The Dirge of Bilquis. I still can't pronounce that name correctly. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that video. I'm excited to see what they are planning to throw at us, especially about missing parts about Goddess of Flowers and Gurabad stories. Leave a comment on what you are most excited to learn about in the upcoming quest, or if you looked up this video after finishing the quest, let me know what you think about the story. Anyway, leave a like, hit my face here to subscribe. Let's get that small number to a big number. Check out the Goddess of Flowers video or something YouTube recommends here in the meantime. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, let your imaginations run wild.